sitting and relaxing. It's Monday morning.
The Village of Plainfield Zoning Board of Appeals for Tuesday, December 6, 2016 is called to order. All rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Segerbrook.
Here.
Commissioner Renzi. Commissioner Menace.
Here.
Commissioner Heinen.
Here.
Commissioner Womack.
Here.
Commissioner Green.
Here.
Chairman Kiefer.
Present.
Park District. School District. Fire District. Library District.
You have in your packets the minutes from our last Zoning Board of Appeals meeting dated October 18th, 2016. Are there any amendments or corrections? Okay. Hearing none, we will accept the minutes as presented in the report. At this time, do we have anyone in the audience who would like to ask a question or make a comment on something that is not on our agenda for the Zoning Board this evening? We have time set aside for anybody who would like to make a comment on something that is not on our agenda. Okay, hearing no response, we'll move on. For development report, you want to, Jake, do you want to give the report now or wait for the?
Sure, we can do it right now if you want. It's pretty brief. Two of the ordinances were approved at the last village board meeting, and they both were in regard to the warehouse district and the warehouse over on Center Street in Eastern. One was for the rezoning request, which will eventually be an expansion of the parking lot, I believe, and the other was for a special permit for a PUD. Both of them were approved at the last board meeting.
Okay, thank you. We have no old business for the Zoning Board of Appeals, so we'll move directly into new business. We have one case this evening. It's case number 1742-110716.V, and it's for 25530 West Pastoral Drive, and it's a request for a variance which requires a public hearing. Do we have a planner's report for this case?
Yes, we do. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and fellow commissioners. The request is for a variance. The location is 25530 West Pastoral Drive. The applicant is seeking a variance to allow a brick paver retaining wall and concrete surround of an in-ground swimming pool in the side yard of their property. The brick paver retaining wall, landscaping, and concrete surrounded in-ground swimming pool have already been constructed and are currently in violation. The applicant is requesting an encroachment into the side yard of approximately 18 inches, sloped down over 6 feet. The adjacent land uses, zoning, and street classifications are as follows. To the east and west of the property are single-family homes zoned R1. To the south is a single-family home across Pastoral Drive, zoned R1, and then to the north is Northwest Community Park, which is also zoned R1. The subject property is located on the north side of Pastoral Drive, west of Northland Drive, and east of Rockfish Lane in Unit 1 of Shenandoah, the Great Meadow subdivision. The lot number is 325. The applicant has already constructed a concrete surrounded in-ground swimming pool, brick paver retaining wall, and landscaping in their backyard that encroaches into the required side yard by approximately 18 inches, sloped down over 6 feet. The improvements were constructed pursuant to a building permit. However, the location constructed deviated from what was approved on the building permit plans. The applicant is requesting that a variance be granted to allow them to keep their concrete surrounded in-ground swimming pool and retaining wall as is by allowing an encroachment on the required side yard setback of approximately 18 inches, sloped down over 6 feet. The applicant has stated that after Naperville Pool and Spa constructed the swimming pool, they had a brick paver retaining wall constructed by DK Landscapes so that they would not have a steep slope, mulch, and tree bed causing water runoff onto the west neighbor's yard. After the work was completed, it was brought to the applicant's attention that the concrete surround of the pool and the retaining wall encroach onto the required side yard. The applicant confirmed that the concrete surrounding the pool and the retaining wall are not located over any utilities. The applicant has tried to get the contractors to rectify the situation and see if they can rebuild so that the concrete surrounding the pool and the brick retaining wall are not located in the side yard area. And while the contractors have been responsive, the pool contractor cannot currently do any work due to health reasons. Furthermore, the landscape contractor has advised that removal of the retaining wall would cause erosion and water to run off onto the neighbor's west yard. It would also adversely affect the structural integrity of the concrete surrounding the in-ground pool. The applicant has also advised that they are not financially able to complete the major repairs at this time. In accordance with Section 9-33 of the Village's zoning ordinance, the Zoning Board of Appeals shall not recommend approval of, nor shall the Village Board grant a variance from the regulations of the zoning ordinance unless it makes the following findings of fact based on the evidence presented. The petitioner is seeking relief from Section 9-14 of the zoning ordinance, which prohibits private swimming pools from being placed in a side yard. The findings are as follows. The first finding that needs to be made is that the variance is in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance. As set forth in the zoning ordinance, the ordinance is adopted for a number of reasons, including the purpose of protecting the public health, safety, and general welfare of the village, maintaining and promoting orderly land use patterns, protecting the quality of life for village residents, protecting the character of existing residential neighborhoods, and implementing the village's policies and goals to include those of the comprehensive plan. Staff submits that an 18-inch encroachment of an in-ground swimming pool and retaining wall into a side yard is mostly consistent with the purpose and intent of the ordinance. While orderly land use patterns are not promoted by allowing some side yards to be encroached upon while others are not, this encroachment does not do anything to hinder the character of the neighborhood or the quality of life for village residents. Additionally, by allowing the encroachment, it protects the quality of life for surrounding property owners and enhances the character of the neighborhood by reducing erosion and water runoff via the high aesthetics and functionality of the retaining wall and landscaping surrounding the pool area. The second finding of fact that needs to be made is that the plight of the owner is due to unique circumstances, and thus strict enforcement of the zoning ordinance would result in practical difficulties or impose exceptional hardships due to the special and unusual conditions that are generally not found on other properties in the same zoning district. The applicant has demonstrated a unique, unusual, or exceptional hardship in this case. The pool contractor cannot do any work to rectify the situation at the moment due to health reasons. The applicant has also advised that they are not financially able to complete major repairs at this time. Furthermore, the landscape contractor has advised that removal of the retaining wall would cause erosion and water to run off onto the west neighbor's yard and would also adversely affect the structural integrity of the concrete surrounding the in-ground pool. The third finding of fact that needs to be made is that the property cannot yield a reasonable use if permitted only under conditions allowed by the zoning ordinance. Staff believes that the property could have yielded a reasonable use if permitted only under the conditions allowed by the zoning ordinance. With more careful design and construction by the contractors, the applicant likely could have still achieved an in-ground swimming pool of adequate size and quality without encroaching on the side yard. However, given the unique site conditions present, if the improvements were to now be modified to be fully compliant with the zoning ordinance, it would possibly affect the structural integrity of the in-ground pool, create erosion and water runoff problems that would adversely affect the neighbor to the west, and cause unreasonable financial costs to be incurred, thereby reducing the likelihood that this property could yield a reasonable use. The final finding of fact that needs to be made is that the variance, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the locality and will not be a substantial detriment to adjacent property. Staff believes that granting a variance in this case would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. It would not be a detriment to adjacent property. In fact, modifying the in-ground pool and removing the retaining wall and landscaping to be in compliance would actually be a detriment to adjacent property, as it would reduce the quality of the improvement and cause erosion and water runoff problems, adversely affecting the neighbor to the west. Based on the foregoing analysis prior to direction from the Zoning Board of Appeals, staff recommends approval. Should the Zoning Board of Appeals concur, the following motion is offered for your consideration as stated in the staff report. And that concludes the staff report for this case.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Is there anyone representing the applicant this evening? Are they here? Would you like to offer any testimony regarding this? Yeah, if I could get you to approach that microphone over there, please. I'll need to swear you in, so please raise your right hand. Do you swear that all testimony you're going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your name for the recording secretary.
Sure. My name is Christopher Gutrich.
Okay. Please go ahead and offer any testimony or add to the planner's report.
I believe he was quite thorough in his analysis. So, based on that, I don't have anything further to add.
Okay. If you could remain available, we may have some questions for you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. At this time, is there anybody from the public who would like to comment on this case or make a statement? Okay, hearing none, we'll open up questioning to the commissioners. Commissioners are free to ask questions.
Andrew, I imagine the adjacent neighbors have been notified regarding this.
Yes.
Any feedback from the neighbors to the east or west?
I haven't heard anything. I think Chris has been in contact with at least the neighbor to the west. I'm not sure about the neighbor to the east. Is there anything that you've heard from them?
Sure, correct. Actually, Jose is my neighbor to the west. He was planning on being here this evening. Unfortunately, he called me about 2 hours ago, and he too has health problems. He had to have surgery on his back, so he couldn't come. He did tell me he called the zoning department this morning and said that as long as this doesn't affect his property, he has absolutely no problems with it, and aesthetically it looks correct. So, he actually preferred that we didn't take down the retaining wall because he doesn't want a bunch of water coming into his yard.
Do we have any photographs of this back at all?
There we go.
Oh,
Right there on the screen.
And if you'd like, I could explain a little bit about what's going on here, if you'd prefer.
Why don't you go ahead?
Sure. Can I walk over there, or do you want me to stay here?
Yeah, you can take that microphone with you to your left. That should attach.
So I ran a line across here so that you can see a very close guesstimate as to where our lot line is. It's on the angle. So this is the concrete surround of the pool. And once this was laid, it was the recommendation of my landscaper, we would have had to have a very strong pitch up to this concrete to help the structural properties of this. So therefore, we added this retaining wall, again, just to help hold up the concrete wall. And upon doing that, yes, there is this corner of concrete. We went into the easement, but really it was via this advice, that's where we ended up encroaching the easement. So
Just that section to the left is
Yeah.
the only part that's encroaching?
that is correct, right there. So we had some hardscape patio that just aesthetically, it was put there just for looks, and we did remove it. So we're going to fill that back in with mulch. Then too, I had Julie come out twice just to verify what was on this easement. What we thought was pretty interesting, the easement on this side is a 3-foot easement. On this side, it's a 5-foot easement, and there's absolutely no utilities actually in my property. ComEd and NICOR both are actually in my neighbor's property.
Other questions or comments from commissioners?
well, since we can't really, what does the grade do between your pool and the lot? I mean, I see you've got a line of evergreens, so is the grade relatively flat between yours and your neighbor's lot, or does it pitch down to the lot line from both sides? What does the grade do?
Now it's got a slight pitch, but it's relatively flat.
From both yards
Yes,
to the lot line?
yes.
And again, just to, excuse me, clarify, you're saying it's just kind of that corner piece?
That is correct.
It doesn't run the full length of the patio?
It does not.
Because you have this shape of your lot?
We have a pie-shaped lot.
Okay.
So, Chris, just I'm assuming you understand that, so since this was built in that easement, whoever has rights to that easement, which it sounds like it's all the private utility companies, maybe, the Village of Plainfield, I mean, they technically have the right to, go in that easement. So if they needed to maintain those utilities, technically they have the right to tear that out, and you would be responsible for the replacement of that. I just want to make sure you're aware of that.
Absolutely. And even with that being said, we have to have a fence. So if the utilities came in, I mean, I've got more problems than just this corner.
Right.
We've got to get rid of the fence. All these trees have to come out. And then, I mean, chopping, if they were to get into that, yes, it's my responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know if there's a piece of paper we could sign that says that. I mean, I don't know
Well,
how
I think
that
you've
works.
got a survey of the property.
Right.
In that survey is the declarations of those easements. So
Correct.
if ComEd contacted you and they say, hey, we need to go within your easement or your pool.
It is
You're
what it
subject
is.
to that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So was the determination to add the retaining wall done during the construction of the pool process?
Yes, that was a nice financial surprise to me during this entire process.
Okay.
And that's humor on my end.
Got it.
So, yeah, but once it was level, I mean, we really didn't have a choice. So,
Thank you.
sure.
Well, I guess, I'm familiar with this property. I think it's a beautiful house that you've built.
Thank you.
I personally don't have issues with it. I think you take it case by case. If you understand the consequences associated with building the easement, I guess I'm fine supporting this application.
Other commissioners? I will comment that this is very similar to a case we had recently with a paver patio being built beyond where it was supposed to, and I don't know if this is something maybe we can have village staff look at. Is it possible where code enforcement goes out prior to construction and looks at where the lines are drawn and everything before they break ground? Because we know that it can be very expensive. You probably found out as you're building it gets very expensive if you have to alter it. But you do realize, too, it could be denied, and then you do have this added expense of trying to put it back into code compliance. So I don't know if that's something the village could look at. You could pass on even just a quick drive-by to check where what's been approved with the permits and make sure it's in line with it.
John and I meet monthly with the code enforcement and the building department, so I can bring that up at our next meeting. And also just, I can reach out to Ken immediately. Hopefully we can be more proactive about this
Well,
and
we'd hate for
prevent
this
these
to,
types of things from happening.
This open the floodgates for people trying to build something and then retroactively trying to get it approved. So,
So you think this was caught at final? Oh, sorry.
did you want to try to come? Certainly, I'll have to swear you in though.
Sorry.
Raise your arm, please. Hand. Do you swear that all testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your name for the recording secretary.
My name is Pete Stefani. I'm the owner of Kings Court Builders. I was the general contractor for Chris and Jody. And Chris is a contractor of mine. He's been a Plainfield businessman here for 10 years and previous resident. But one thing I learned, and he hired his pool contractor and he hired his landscape contractor. I'm here for support. And I think ultimately my name is on the cash bond to get released. But one thing I learned through this process is that you guys don't require a pool contractor to submit a grading survey when they do a pool permit, as opposed to other villages around you. And perhaps if with a grading survey with elevations of the pool and elevations of the side yard, this would have shook out a little bit earlier rather than just, popping a bird's eye view of a pool on there. So I thought I would offer that suggestion for what it's worth.
And I completely agree with that. I guess being in the field of civil engineering, I've done, projects like this, and other municipalities have required detailed grading design to overlook so that we don't have this situation where you've got a big grade change and no one's aware of it. So
Certainly with the runoff and drainage.
yeah, definitely. I think staff should look into that. If there is a pool permit, also have an engineer take a look at the grades associated with that. I completely agree.
I'll relay that suggestion to the building department.
Well, and I'm an architect, and I'll tell you that this is the second case we've seen where, no disrespect, but obviously the pool contractor and the landscaper both made mistakes. And don't try and put it back on the village that the village should have done something. They made a mistake. What they did was wrong, and now he's asking for forgiveness, okay? So that's the purpose of a zoning variance. Not to say, oh, yeah, it was okay because they intentionally made a mistake, because they did, okay? And they're not now willing to make it right. So I just want to make sure you understand that, if this is granted, you are doing it at the expense of your neighbor. It does affect your neighbor. So, I mean, if your neighbor had done something like this to you, you'd be on the other side of that fence. So I just want you to realize that.
Yes, sir.
But I think if we had a grading plan enforced in place, I think this would have been flushed out, by a professional engineer.
Right.
It sounds like the pool contractor didn't have a engineer in place, and hopefully this would have been rectified.
Well,
I agree.
Commissioner Sagerbush's point is important because when we grant a variance to one property owner, if it impacts the neighboring property owners from ever doing a similar situation, it does have implications.
I think the key, though, is with a variance is that you look at each case individually. And I think if we go over the 4 points that we're talking about, especially the one, will it alter the essential character? I think it's a great addition, just like the previous case at the last meeting we had. I think, yes, it's an intrusion. Yes, it was a mistake, but it adds value to the subdivision, to the neighboring properties too, not just the property owner. So I don't think it's detrimental, and I think it would be detrimental if it had to be taken out and some awkward kind of solution brought in. So I think overall it's a plus, and I think as in a case-by-case basis, I think I would support this. I think it's, I think it's a good addition.
I would agree. I think that's well said.
I'll just comment on one point with the regards to the findings of fact dealing with the unusual or exceptional hardships in the case. This is the first time I've seen it referenced where a contractor would not be able to rectify the situation due to health reasons. And it's referenced twice in the planner's report, and I'm just a little bit confounded as to whether that means indefinitely. I don't understand how a contractor couldn't, they had to subcontract the work, I guess, to make it into compliance. But just to say that they're unable to do the repairs, I think that's kind of an interesting statement that found its way into our report. That being said, other comments?
Yeah, I would just comment, kind of like we've discussed here, difference from the previous case. While we do need to be cognizant of granting these variances and sort of setting a precedent for ask for forgiveness rather than permission, this one does significantly differ from the previous case. We're talking 18 inches versus 5 feet, and then obviously not a corner lot. So I think those differences allow me to support this as well. And do we have a 5-foot easement on both properties here for a total of 10 feet?
To my knowledge, yes. So we have a 10-foot
we
easement.
still have 8.5 easement through there, even with
Yes.
that. Okay.
To my knowledge.
well, if comments are concluded, the chair would entertain a motion regarding this application.
So I move we adopt the findings of fact of staff as the findings of fact of the Zoning Board of Appeals and recommend approval of a variance to permit a brick paver retaining wall and a concrete surround of an in-ground swimming pool up to 18 inches into the side yard for the property located at 25530 Westport Pastoral Drive.
Second?
The motion has been made and seconded regarding this application. Can we get a vote by roll call, please?
Commissioner Sagerbrook,
No.
Commissioner Womack,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Menace,
Yes.
Commissioner Heinen,
Yes.
Chairman Kiefer.
Yes. So this motion has been approved. This recommendation, this case will go forward to the village board. So please keep in touch with staff when this may appear on their agenda. That will be the next step to take action on this.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
That concludes our zoning board of appeals cases. I'm going to adjourn that meeting, and we're going to move directly into the plan commission meeting and agenda. So at 7:24, we will move into the plan commission. Could we please have a roll call for the plan commission meeting?
Commissioner Sagerbrook,
Here.
Commissioner Renzi, Commissioner Menace,
Here.
Commissioner Heinen,
Here.
Commissioner Womack,
Here.
Commissioner Green,
Here.
Commissioner Kiefer,
Present.
Park District, School District, Fire District, Library District.
Thank you. In your packets, you have the minutes dated for the November 1st, 2016 Plan Commission meeting. Are there any corrections or amendments to those minutes?
Can I ask a question about it?
Yes, if you'd like some clarification, certainly.
Yeah. Page 5, it says, Mr. Prohl indicated the Plan Commission could postpone making a recommendation, stated Public Works has a professional engineer who could provide an opinion, and we could have the equipment to provide traffic counts at the intersection. Did we do it?
I'm unaware. I know that he has asked our village engineer for his request, but I'm not sure what the answer was back. So
Okay.
I'll make sure that we can pass that along, or we can bring it up to the next board meeting.
I don't
Okay.
think that was
I know
part
that
of-
message
part of the
was-
motion, but I did think he indicated he would ask the committee to look at it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, hearing no other comments, we'll accept the minutes as presented. At this time, we have public comments for anything that would not be on our agenda for the Plan Commission this evening. So we've set aside time for anybody in the audience who would like to ask a question or make a comment on anything not on our agenda this evening. Okay, hearing none from the audience, we will move forward. We've already had a development report. For the Plan Commission, we have one item under old business. It is case number 1724-043016.DEMO. And this is for 15233 South Joliet Road. And the request is for a site plan review. And the applicant is Baker Enterprises, LLC. Do we have a planner's report regarding this case?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Commission. As you said, tonight is a site plan review for 15233 South Joliet Road, which is at the corner of Dillman and Joliet Road, or US 30. This property, the Plan Commission did consider this case on July 5th of 2016 of this year, holding a public hearing in regards to rezoning request. The applicant requested to rezone the subject property area to BT, Transitional Business Transition District. At that time, the Plan Commission did recommend approval of that rezoning. However, they did want to continue consideration of the site plan review to the Historic Preservation Commission at that time. The HPC did not object at that time to a demolition request, which was previously recommended. However, the applicant has now decided to retain the existing structure and construct a modern addition to the rear of the building. So tonight is the site plan that you see before you, which will include paver patio area, a parking lot, and a new 3-stall garage, which is 982 square feet. The site plan does show 2 ingress egress going off onto Dillman. The parking provided, we believe, would be sufficient given the size and nature of the uses of the structure. Engineering will obviously have a stipulation for final engineering approval. However, we don't foresee any significant issues or changes with the stormwater due to the size and nature of the property. Staff does note that there's the following bulk regulations have been met, including minimum lot area, minimum lot width, maximum building height, and floor area ratio. The setbacks and are pre-existing, as now the applicant will be retaining the existing structure and what I believe, and the applicant is here if you have any questions, but they will be raising the structure and putting in a new foundation for that structure, and then modifying the exterior to what you will see from the existing here to this elevation. They'll be providing a new dormer window at the top. Right now there's a 2-dormer window. It's hard to see with the branch, but they'll be adding another dormer window up there, a new dormer with a wraparound porch to provide some more architectural elements and features to the front facade. The new addition, which will be a new construction at the rear, which you can see from the view from the parking lot, will also have a dormer on the side elevation that will help transcend the residential appeal of the structure. Again, there will be a new construction of the garage, which is 982 square feet. Landscaping, staff has reviewed that they are going to keep primarily most of the mature trees on site, so much of the landscaping is already taken care of. Lighting, there is no lighting plan that has been addressed. However, the applicant and staff don't foresee too much extensive lighting in the parking lot area. However, we we will look to try to get some lighting plan or photometric plan from the applicant during a final engineering review. And also there will be a trash enclosure that will be located to the north of the garage. If we go back to the site plan here. And so tonight, with the recommendation that has been provided for the rezoning to BT, staff feels pleased that the proposal does call for retaining the existing structure that I believe was built in the 1870s. So that's great to see the preservation and the enhancement of it. So should the Plan Commission concur, the following motion is offered for your consideration. I move we recommend approval of the proposed site plan review for the office and residential building at 15233 South Joliet Road, subject to the following two stipulations: compliance with the requirements of the village engineer and compliance with the requirements of the Plainfield Fire District. And that will conclude the planner's report.
Okay, thank you. At this time, is anyone representing the applicant for this case? Are they here this evening? Were you expecting them to be here? Or?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought somebody was here tonight, but oh, he stepped out.
That was timely. Well, I don't know.
Can we go find him?
I don't know. If you're familiar with who he is, hold on. I think he'll check. We'll give him an opportunity to comment on this. Start the countdown at 30 seconds. Just to kind of inform the audience or anybody watching, we usually give the applicant a chance to comment on the case under oath as part of the public record. And, okay, cannot be found, so we will move on. Typically, though, an applicant might be here to also face questioning from commissioners or the public. At this time, is there anybody in the audience who would like to ask a question or make a comment regarding this case? Okay, hearing none. I will open up questioning to the commissioners. Commissioners, you're free to comment or ask questions regarding this case. Keep in mind it is a continuation from business that had been before us prior, but you're free to comment on it at this time.
Just curious, did the applicant give a reason why the change in plan from demolition to renovation and expansion?
You know, actually, I'm not too sure, but I believe that it was more based off of just preservation and kind of being sentimental towards that preservation.
Okay, good.
Obviously,
That's something that came back from the village board, or was this just something that they determined on their own?
It was again, the HPC did not object to the actual demolition. I think it was just more along the lines of, as they were going through some due diligence and kind of saw the ability to be able to do it, and I thought, you know, found some different avenues, so they decided to move forward with preservation instead.
So is this going to go back to HPC, or did it already go back to them?
I believe it's already been back. Yeah.
And so I have to assume that they would have been in, you know, obviously in favor of the change.
Correct. Yeah.
To retain at least part of it. So the BT zoning was what we passed the last time. So this proposal, you know, I mean, obviously we have detailed floor plans, which really don't necessarily affect this site plan review, but it appears to be a 2-unit residential building is kind of what they're showing, but I guess with the potential for, the first floor could be business use, is it?
Right,
For
an office.
Other than a home office, but, you know, potentially.
Correct.
Okay.
And if I remember correctly, too, we had some questions last time when they were moving towards the demolition. A number of commissioners voiced concerns about trash enclosure, and at the time they were saying because of its proximity to the residents and its footprint, they were just going to use trash cans like any other residential housing unit. So this is new too, that they're going to have an actual trash enclosure.
Well, so going back, so assuming that it does end up being some kind of a business on the ground floor, does the parking work for that then? I mean, obviously 3 enclosed spaces in the garage, which you would assume would cover the residential part, even if there's 2 units, but the 3 spaces does that cover a business use then on the first floor, or?
for the majority of it, you know, the fact that it's a very small footprint within there, and it would more than likely be limited space. The user of that space will have access to the 3-stall garage, leaving those 2 vacancies for any visitors. However, you know, dependent on the use, we certainly have some availability for parking expansion. Just what would be east of that dumpster, get the diagonal US 30. It gets me goofed up on my north and south there, but so that parking area can be expanded out near to the sidewalk area, actually.
Like a parallel spot or something.
Right.
I mean, I think the concept's similar to what they had before. They kind of had the facade, you know, facing to 30 and then also to the side street, you know, with the porch and kind of an entrance on both sides. So they have the accessible ramp and all that. So I think it seems to be pretty well thought out. I mean,
Again, for the minutes, I'd like it to reflect that the applicant is a client of the financial institution that I work for. However, I'm not directly related to this project at all. I echo the comment, though. I see how it can kind of, I see the benefit here to this redevelopment of the property and maintaining some of the historical attributes of the property. And I do like that there's the opportunity to both have a mixed use, whether it be residential, rental, or some kind of professional office space. I think it'd be a nice addition for that Route 30 gateway kind of coming into downtown.
Any other comments from commissioners? Okay, hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion regarding this application.
I move we recommend approval of the proposed site plan review for the office and residential building at 15233 South Joliet Road, subject to the following 2 stipulations. 1, compliance with the requirements of the village engineer, and 2, compliance with the requirements of the Plainfield Fire Protection District.
second.
A second. Oh,
A motion has been made and seconded twice. Can we roll call, please? Roll call.
Commissioner Womack,
Yes.
Commissioner Heinen,
Yes.
Commissioner Menace,
yes.
Commissioner Segerbrook,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Chairman Kiefer.
Yes. So this motion is approved. The recommendation will go forward to the village board. So I would tell the applicant good luck with their project, but they are no longer here. We will move on directly into new business. You have one case before you under new business. It is case number 1743-11016.SU/SPR. It's for 23755 West 135th Street, and it's a request for a special use, which includes the public hearing and a site plan review. Do we have a planner's report regarding this case?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. The location of this property is 23755 West 135th Street. It is the easternmost lot along 135th Street in the Meyer development. The applicant is seeking approval of a special use permit for a preschool / child care facility in the B3 zoning district, as well as site plan review of the development Primrose School of Plainfield. The subject site is Lot 2 of the Meyer Napa Plainfield re-subdivision, a re-subdivision of lots 10 and 11 in the Meyer Plainfield subdivision. The subject site is approximately 2.74 acres and is currently vacant. The applicant is proposing to construct a single-story, 11,550 square foot childcare facility with fenced outdoor playgrounds, a parking area, and landscaping. The property is located on the south side of 135th Street, about a quarter-mile east of Route 59. It is the last undeveloped outlet in the Meyer development. It is located immediately east of Napa Auto Parts, west of Eaton Preserve, south of the Plainfield Fire Protection District headquarters and the Menards development, north of a detention pond, and northeast of the Meyer store. The adjacent land uses, zoning, and functional street classifications are identified below. To the north, it says 127th Street. That's an error. It should actually be 135th Street. And the detention area in the Plainfield Fire Protection District is located to the north. And that is zone B3 across the street. To the east is Plainfield Township Park District, which is unincorporated and zoned A1 in Will County and designated greenways in the village's comprehensive plan. And then to the south and west are part of the Meyer development in Zone B3. The zoning ordinance recognizes that there are certain uses designated as special uses that, based on their unique characteristics, cannot be classified in any particular zoning district without consideration in each case of the impact of those uses on adjacent properties and the public need for the use at the proposed location. In order to recommend approval of a special use, the Plan Commission must make findings of fact to support the recommendation for approval. Staff believes that there is information to support the required findings of fact as outlined below. The first finding of fact that needs to be made is that the special use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other properties in the immediate area for the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish property values within the neighborhood. Staff finds that the proposed location for the preschool is suitable and would not result in any detrimental impacts to adjacent properties. While the number of parking spaces provided, 46 spaces, is below the minimum parking lot requirement of 61 spaces, the applicant has indicated that their experience with other facilities of similar capacity in similar communities suggests 42 to 46 parking spaces will be, there's the site plan, will be sufficient to meet their needs, and that most municipal codes support their internal data, particularly as 25% of families typically have a second child enrolled, reducing the amount of daily vehicular traffic per student. Furthermore, adequate open space has been provided on the west side of the property to potentially expand the parking lot in the future if it becomes necessary. The parking lot appears to be designed in such a way as to promote orderly circulation and the connection to adjacent commercial properties to the west, in addition to the flow access point on 135th Street into the development, should help to support orderly traffic flow. The applicant should work in cooperation with the Fire Protection District and Public Works to ensure that left turn access into both Primrose and the Fire District campus can be safely and adequately accommodated. Given the placement of the outdoor playground areas adjacent to a water detention area, a natural preserve with additional on-site buffer, and 135th Street, which will also include heavy landscaping, staff does not anticipate noise impacts to nearby commercial properties. The closest residential properties are roughly 2,000 feet east of the proposed playground areas and are also buffered by extensive tree lines along the DuPage River. Staff believes that the property is well positioned for a daycare center given its location in a major commercial area on a secondary arterial that isn't as desirable for retail properties as those with direct frontage on Route 59. Staff believes that the location near retail stores and services along Route 59, extensive residential areas along 135th Street west of Route 59, local job centers a mile to the west and south, and along our major route to I-55 makes this an ideal location for a daycare center. Staff believes the daily traffic generated by the daycare center will be beneficial to businesses in the surrounding retail centers, including the Meyer, Menards, and Jewel-Osco centers. Additionally, staff notes that the building will be constructed of high-quality building materials, including stone and brick, to complement nearby commercial properties, and will also include additional architectural details and lush landscaping, and will be an overall asset to the surrounding development and the community as a whole. The second finding of fact that needs to be made to allow a special use is that the establishment of the special use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the adjacent properties for uses permitted in this subject zoning district. The adjacent properties are either already developed as commercial properties or governmental facilities or undevelopable stormwater detention areas or nature preserves and floodplain areas. Staff believes that the proposed daycare center is compatible with existing uses in the area and serves as an appropriate transitional use between the higher intensity retail businesses to the west and the nature preserve to the east. Staff believes the applicant has carefully designed the site to mitigate impacts as much as possible, particularly with regard to the placement of playground and parking areas, the orientation of the building, the location and intensity of landscaping, and the areas set aside for open space, all in relation to existing site conditions and surrounding properties. Moving on to the site plan review. With regards to site plan, access, and circulation, the applicant plans to construct their 11,550 square foot childcare facility roughly in the center third of the lot, with fenced-in playground areas to the north and south sides of the building. The parking area will be mostly on the western third of the lot, along with the access points, while open space will be set aside on the east half of the lot due to existing site conditions including topography and floodplain, and to serve as an additional buffer area for the adjacent nature preserve. Vehicular access will be provided via a full proposed access point on the 135th Street, as well as an existing curb cut to the parking lot of the Napa Auto Parts store to the west. The Napa access point provides access to the rest of the Meyer development, including the primary existing access point on 135th Street into the center. Between the two access points and the layout of the parking lot, it appears that circulation within the parking lot should not be an issue. However, it is unclear how the applicant plans to redesign the center lane of 135th Street to provide left turn access for both Primrose and the Fire Protection District campus to the north. While the proposed orientation of the building, parking lot, open space areas, and other elements appear to make the most sense from a site planning perspective, in relation to existing conditions and surrounding properties, staff does have some concerns about the orientation of the property's direct access point on 135th Street in relation to the fire campus driveways to the north. Particularly during peak drop-off and pickup times, but is fairly confident that a workable solution can be achieved. Pedestrian access is provided via a sidewalk connection to an existing multi-use path along the south side of 135th Street. I also wanted to let the commissioners know that I did reach out to the village engineer about the center lane, and they said that they would likely probably do a dual left access center lane. But the engineering consultant that the village has retained is concerned about potential conflict between the two, despite that. So that will have to definitely be something that will need to be worked out.
Sorry, real quick, I was a little confused on that. Can you say that again in regards to, you said dual left?
Yeah, so it would probably be converted to dual left turn access, but they're concerned about conflict, you know, if you know, the fire has lots of traffic coming into their center and the, you know, daycare center has lots of, you know, at the same time. So I'm not sure what their traffic is like going in and out of the fire district in relation to what the peak hours will be for the daycare centers. So that's something that is outstanding.
So the eastbound left turn movement into the fire department and the westbound left turn movement into the subject property would be in conflict with each other.
Right. Could potentially be yeah. Moving on to parking. For a child care facility, a minimum of 0.33 parking spaces per licensed capacity is required. Primrose plans for a licensed capacity of 184 students and has indicated that approximately 25% of families typically have a second child enrolled, reducing the number of families to approximately 135 at capacity. The applicant plans to provide 46 parking spaces, which is below the requirement of 61 parking spaces for a licensed capacity of 184. Assuming that approximately 25% of families have a second child enrolled, thereby reducing the number of families dropping off and picking up, the applicant would meet the requirement from a number of licensed families perspective. The applicant has indicated that a 46-stall parking lot is typically adequate for other facilities of similar size, license capacity, and location, and is requesting relief from the parking requirements. Given that adequate open space has been provided on the west portion of the lot for potential parking lot expansion if it does become necessary, and given the applicant's attention to this issue and confidence that the provided parking will be adequate, staff is comfortable granting relief from this requirement. I also did some research on the other Primrose facilities that are in the Chicagoland area, and all are at or below 46 parking spaces, which is what is being provided for this site. Moving on to engineering and stormwater management. The subject property is part of the overall Meyer development, and detention has already been provided for the lot via a shared detention basin located to the south. Furthermore, the applicant has provided adequate open space on the east side of the property, serving as additional buffer space between the development and the nature preserve and floodplain located to the east. Final engineering for the site improvements is not required at the time of site plan review, and staff does not anticipate any significant engineering issues associated with the project. The subject property exceeds all of the minimum zoning requirements as stated in the staff report. Moving on to elevations, facade, and architecture. The proposed one-story building will be constructed of high-quality materials, primarily brick with stone along the entire base of the building. Most of the windows will include forest green vinyl shutters. The building also features either wall plane projections, recesses, and or peaked roof forms on all of the elevations of the building in order to provide architectural relief and create visual interest. Base trim and asphalt shingles are located throughout the building, and the exterior of the building also includes some stone support columns, a stone wall, and standing metal seam roof over a large window at the main entrance, and a decorative cupola with a weather vane on the top of the building. Staff finds that the overall architecture and building materials to be of high quality, meeting or exceeding the standards of the site plan review ordinance and complementing with existing commercial development in the area. Moving on to the landscape plan. It demonstrates that they have met the minimum landscaping requirements, including landscaping plant unit concentrations per street frontage and interior lot landscaping. Due to the location of the playgrounds adjacent to the building, foundation landscaping is not provided, but there is adequate landscaping throughout the rest of the site, including a total of 26 trees from 10 different species, 348 shrubs from 8 different species, and 381 perennials ground cover from 2 different species. I guess it was landscape plan. Okay. Moving on to lighting and photometrics. The applicant has submitted a photometric plan that demonstrates that the light spill diminishes to at or below the maximum permitted levels at the property lot line, which is 0.5 foot candles, with the exception of one spot where the property's parking lot meets the existing curb cut on Appa's property to the west, located roughly in the northwest part of the site plan. There appears to be a light fixture located here that will also likely benefit and serve the connecting driveway and parking lot to the west. The proposed mounting height of the parking lot light fixtures does not exceed the principal height of the building in accordance with the site plan review ordinance. Staff is seeking cut sheets for parking lot light fixtures and wall-mounted fixtures, and will encourage that the parking lot fixtures be similar in color and style to fixtures used elsewhere in the development. The applicant has provided a trash enclosure, and it appears to be in compliance with requirements of the site plan, and is complementary with the building that is being proposed. In addition, the applicant is also seeking an amendment to the existing PUD for the Meyer development to allow for a 6-foot ornamental iron fence along 135th Street to safely enclose the playground area. Given that the fence is necessary to provide for the protection of the children in the playground areas, and given that the applicant will be constructing the fence with high-quality materials and screening it with abundant landscaping, particularly along 135th Street, staff is recommending approval of an amendment to the PUD for the Meyer subdivision to allow a 6-foot ornamental iron fence along 135th Street to safely enclose the playground area. Staff believes that the findings of fact can readily be made to support a recommendation for approval of the special use for the preschool child care facility in the B3 district. Staff also submits that the site plan is mostly in compliance with the requirements of the zoning ordinance, and that the applicant has provided adequate justification for relief from certain requirements, including parking, foundation, landscaping, and fencing. Overall, staff believes the development will be of benefit to the surrounding area and the community as a whole. Based on the foregoing, prior to discussion by the Plan Commission, staff is seeking a favorable recommendation. Should the Plan Commission concur, the following motions are offered for your consideration as stated in the staff report. And that concludes the staff report for Primrose School, Plainfield.
Thank you, Andrew. Is there anyone here representing the applicant this evening? Can I get you to approach that microphone over there, please? Please raise your right hand. We'll swear you in. Is all testimony you're about to give this evening the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you?
Yes, it is.
Please state your name for the recording secretary.
Sure. My name is John Finnemore. I'm with Primrose School Franchising Company. Andrew did a fantastic presentation. Just wanted to concur with a couple items that he mentioned. We do find that 46 parking stalls are more than adequate for our use. However, he's exactly right. We did set it back due to the size of the site to where if it should become a problem and the village alerts us of it in the future, there's the ability to add parking stalls and get up to the 60, actually exceed the 61 required to the west. But we didn't feel the need to just build those to create extra impervious area that we don't feel we need. We average 42 to 46 stalls in our 330 schools, and find that they work very well. The other thing I just wanted to mention too is, yes, we're totally prepared to work with the fire district engineering department and whoever else wants to be involved with ideas on how to restripe the left turn lane there. I don't know that there's another alternative other than the dual use, which are not ideal scenarios. But I think that in this case, you know, the people that come to Primrose come there every day, get very used to their commute patterns. It's not, you know, random people just seeing a sign pulling in to get a burger or something like that. And I think that exact situation is going to occur, and well, is already occurring at the fire district office across the street. It's not an impulse stop. It's people coming to work every day. I think the two uses there will be people who are very familiar with the road in the usage of that dual use left turn lane. So I think the impact that might exist when there's retail and, you know, on both sides of the street and people, you know, driving by and make you know, a quick decision to make a turn really won't occur with these two uses, and that I think that it'll be a fairly short dual use left turn lane. I just really think it can work. That's all I had to add, and I'm definitely here for questions.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, please remain if we do have any comments or questions for you. At this time, is there anybody from the audience, from the public, that would like to ask a question or comment on these applications this evening? Hearing nothing from the audience, we will open up questioning to the commissioners at this time. Commissioners, you're free to comment and ask questions regarding this case.
Mr. Fenimore, question I have, first of all, I'd like to say I think it's a good idea, and I think that there's a need in the town for this, especially this location, so I'm on your side to begin with, I'll say that. I think what you have planned is good. My only questions are traffic and traffic flow. Operations-wise, do you have more of a parking pattern where those parents coming to drop off or pick up their children would park and have to come on in? Or is it more of like almost like a porte cochere at a hotel where people pull on through and you would have a queue and then the children are brought out to the vehicles? Or is it a mix of the two?
It's the former. Child care, you know, operates differently than the kiss and ride that you'd have in an elementary school, mainly due to the age of the children. You know, the bulk of our population is 3 and under. You can't let them off and tell them to go find their way in. And also, pretty much all child care operators do this now. We require that parents bring them in and sign their children in because it's kind of a transfer of custody. We have to make sure we got them for the day, basically. So what we do is we park our staff. We'll park the staff on the far western stalls, leaving all the stalls in the front of the building open for the drop-off and pickup, you know, at both the morning and the afternoon. So, you know, so staff kind of stays out of those stalls. Prospective parents, it gives them, you know, the prime spot if they come in the middle of the day to come in the building. Makes for ease to take good pictures of the school. There's never cars in front of them because we just, you know, we do segregate the stalls that way. And again, as I mentioned earlier, our customers are very regular folks, and they learn how that operates as well. And you know, we've got an internally circulating parking lot. Both drives will be dual direction, but with keeping staff on the western stalls and keeping the front stalls open, that's basically how it works. And it, you know, is truly a park, and come in, drop your child off, and then come back out and leave.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Other commissioners?
Yeah, so I guess I echo Commissioner Green's excitement. I think this would be a great addition to the Village of Plainfield. I completely support the use associated with this, or the special use. But I guess my major concern with this is really the access to the site. So if you look at your access point where you're lined up, so essentially you're offset from, actually if you can go back to that plan was fine. The proposed plan, thank you. So your proposed access point is offset from the large driveway that essentially is the exit for the fire trucks and the emergency equipment. That's correct, right? So that area, and I think that area is striped off already, right? So
Stop there.
So yeah, so that people actually don't stop in that area. And then to the east of that is the main access point for the fire department. And I completely agree with the concern of the left turn, dual left turn conflicts. But I guess specifically, the concern of people waiting to turn left into this development right outside, the fire department and the emergency equipment. So I guess, have you looked at options? I think ideally what you want is your access point to align not with, the emergency access, but the vehicle access to, the east. Have you looked at options regarding that?
Frankly, we haven't, and the reason being is that the connection point that we're using was a predetermined location as part of the PUD.
That had to be done before the fire department came
That
in.
very well could be. But that,
I would hope that was done.
Yeah,
before
but
the
I mean
fire
that's why
department came.
we were told that was there would not be additional cuts. That was the cut, and so we designed accordingly. Because clearly it's offset from the emergency one, and you're probably very well right that's why it is kind of poorly set up. But that's why we used it, because it was there.
Commissioner Heinen points out, by definition, to turn left coming into this facility, you're going to have to block the area where you're not allowed to block.
Right.
Well, we'd have to sign it that, make the stacking happen farther back. And again, with parents that come on a regular basis, we could make that very clear to them that they, stack farther back, and, when they're stacking. Now, when they're coming in, sure, they're going to have to go through there to make the turn. I don't foresee considerable stacking occurring, but, the stacking.
Well, I
could
think this
happen
is
east
more
and
of a
west.
safety concern, and I think the fire department needs to weigh in on this. I mean, 135th is a major roadway, major thoroughfare through the village. And I honestly have serious concerns in regards to that access point. I think you need to go back to the drawing board and change that access point, to align with the east and see how that fits with your development.
Well, one of our standard stipulations is compliance with the Plainfield Fire Protection District. So this certainly, I think, is going to fall under that.
Andrew, have we gotten any feedback from the fire department yet?
I have not heard anything directly from the fire department.
haven't
Like I
seen
said,
that.
I did hear from the village engineer, and he asked for our engineering consultants' input as well, and so they had expressed some concerns about the conflict. They said it would likely be striped as dual left, but there could potentially be that conflict there. So,
Do they
but
understand
otherwise
that-
they haven't, submitted anything else.
Do they understand that whole area outside the emergency access is completely striped already?
I looked at the aerial. I don't.
Is it not
I
striped?
don't
thought
think
was.
it is actually striped.
It's on the westbound traffic.
I know they usually are, but it doesn't look like it is in
Okay.
this case. So.
Okay, it's on the north side of the road.
Yeah,
Okay. So there is a designated left turn lane
going into the
the fire or the fire parking lot.
But it's not the full width of the road striped, for the
You're
fire
right.
trucks
You're right.
coming out.
You're right. You're right.
The question I have, and this may be a changing function too, is how much service does the fire department provide to the east? How often would they take a left out of there?
We have someone from the Fire
Yeah.
Protection District. Did you want to comment? Please, come to
Yeah,
the
come
microphone,
on.
please.
Thanks, that helps. I appreciate it.
I didn't see that site plan in our packet.
We're going to swear you in real quick as well, please. Please raise your right hand. Is all testimony about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please state your name for the recording secretary.
Because there is, at certain times of the day, traffic backed up beyond the station, especially in the evening for traffic traveling westbound. There's never really a jam of traffic going east, that's why that side of the street is not striped at this point. But that particular station does serve quite a bit of area all the way to the east side of our district. So we would not want that lane locked by stacking or
And what time is typical shift change there? I assume it's 7 a.m. right when kids are being dropped off as well, which poses additional.
Well, this sounds like certainly a challenge.
Well, my recollection, and Mary could correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, obviously this was originally Fire Station 2. This was the second fire station. You know, the original fire station was downtown, and of course, when they expanded and built the whole campus later on, I mean, you're saying that where you're showing the driveway was the approved location on the Meyer?
Correct. Via the
Okay.
PUD, right?
PUD at that
16
time.
years.
Because
They-
the PUD was done, what, 2004?
Yeah,
5,
but this
somewhere
this
around
fire station, and when I moved to Plainfield in 1983, that fire station was already there. That fire station's been there for a long time. It was built in the late 80s, early 90s. So,
So the fire station, so it's the training academy that was built.
yeah,
after
training kit was built
Okay.
much later.
Okay.
I mean, my guess is they may have thought that fire station was going to go away at some point because that, when they started building new fire stations around the rest of the district, that one was kind of a, outlier. It didn't really match the new designs they were going with. And when they built the rest of the campus, they kind of went back and facelifted that station to match.
Got it.
I think there may have been thought they were going to end up tearing that station down and not keep
Got
it there.
Got it.
Maybe that's how this driveway location ended up being approved that way. You know what I'm saying?
But
It's just a guess, but
But was that still just for emergency access? I mean, for the emergency vehicles to come out?
yeah, it was always the driveway always looked about the way it does now. I mean, it was always a fire station, so it was just apparatus.
And regardless, now we have this situation. So
One other point, the engineer did suggest that the access point be that they eliminate the playgrounds to the north and move them maybe somewhere else, so maybe to the east of the building, and bring that up to match the driveway for the training facility. But I believe John has indicated that would not be workable. Just from the design of their building and the location of their playgrounds and how they typically operate their facilities. I don't know if you can elaborate any further on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would be 100% unworkable. It would be extremely undesirable, I guess, is a better way to state it. Not to.
well, and all of this does connect and kind of winds through the greater parking lot of Meyer and those kind of beltway roads that run through there as well.
Would the traffic issue be eliminated if essentially you inverted the building plans and basically flip-flopped
That's
the
what I was-
building?
that's what I was
The
thinking.
problem is we've got to maintain the connection to Napa.
Lose that.
That's the problem with. You can't lose that and just exactly. That would solve it, but we still have we owe them the connection.
Do you have the aerial shot you could maybe pull up?
Well, I mean, the suggestion I had already been thinking that, if they kind of maybe move their playgrounds around the east side of the building where they have all that nice green space anyway, and then continue essentially the driveway east along the front of their building, and then lined up on the fire campus entrance, then I guess would get it away from the apparatus driveway, and then you could have a true left from either way with the driveways lined up. I mean, that might work. I don't know how you feel about that, but
Yeah, I mean, what I didn't like about that is that
Yeah.
all the traffic that's going to go alongside the playground area.
well, I'm suggesting maybe whatever playground you're showing along 135th, you might have to consider.
Oh, yeah.
bringing
Oh, no,
bringing it
absolutely.
around the east side of the building.
Right, it would just you'd look out of the classroom
I know.
windows at the cars
you
going
wouldn't
by.
see. It wouldn't be as pleasant a view. I understand, but
Right, precisely.
maybe you'd at least if you're having a driveway along there, then you could do perimeter landscaping facing the street, kind of a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what we would do.
Okay.
And then move the playgrounds
Kind of
to
swing
the other
around
side
to
of
the
the
east and kind
driveway.
of link in on the
Right,
south.
push-
and
push
right.
this out.
Because you've got all that nice green space on the east end of your
We have the
site.
room. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's just not a desirable scenario. And I, just kind of how we got there is because we had this existing drive and,
Right.
knew it wasn't an ideal
Yeah, which
layout,
is a shame, and I apologize that.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, the other option is if the driveway stayed where it was, but it was a right in, right out, then you don't have the left turn concern. But then
Right.
you're forcing everybody to go through the Napa.
Through the Napa,
Right.
yeah.
To so
I
They're
imagine.
not here tonight, you know. So. No, but exactly. That would be something we wouldn't want
And
to
that,
do
for
to
you, that
them.
probably wouldn't be as
And it's-
desirable either, because now
exactly.
people are having to come in a different way. And
Right, but that's the
Sure.
other alternative,
Right.
precisely. Going all the way to.
Well, and I want, what time does Napa open in the morning too? That may not even overlap with your morning drop-off. Anyway, other comments regarding this case?
I just have a question regarding sort of, it's come up twice now about, with parking and sort of proving as is with the idea that there's future space for parking, and how's that sort of handled? I mean, if it becomes an issue down the road, the city goes to the property owner and says you need to, and sort of forces their hand to add additional parking after it's already been approved without
Well,
that here?
Yeah, we can certainly, I'm sorry, I'm just stepping on you, Andrew, here, but one thing that we could certainly do is do a condition of approval based on the special use permit, provided that, if this becomes a code enforcement issue to a certain level, that we would have to expand parking. In that case, it would be tied to one of the approval processes.
And in addition, this has been referenced by the representative and also in your planner's report, so it becomes part of the public record that they are on record
can
as saying
leverage.
that they are willing to build additional if required.
Okay.
Well, let me ask, do the commissioners feel comfortable that the access point to 135th Street can be worked out with staff moving forward, or do we need to put a stipulation in, or
You know,
how do we feel about
I'm not a fan of slowing the process down, but I think this is a big enough issue that, I think they need to work with engineering closer on this, and, get their reaction on it. I'd be surprised Baxter and Woodman, would, be approving a conflict with the dual left turn lane, but, talking to them, maybe potentially coming back with some alternative site plans, that hopefully would work with you, with aligning the access point across the east access point to the fire department. Because I think if we approve it now and then they go through engineering, they could have a totally different site plan, because of this issue. So,
Well, and I also, again, I'll point out that one of our standard stipulations is compliance with the Plainfield Fire Protection District. So if they are against this and fight this and raise reservations or concerns, those are going to have to be addressed. It's just a matter at what point.
I try to avoid arguments with fire departments.
yeah, and you usually don't
As a rule,
don't win.
have it, yeah.
But I agree. I think more recon needs to happen with engineering, with fire. Need to sit down and kind of work through this issue, and then maybe come back to us.
yeah, I mean, it's an unfortunate conflict that's been set up because obviously they were in good faith working
Right.
off what
I
appeared to be
I
the approved access
feel bad
point,
for you.
so- yeah, but it's not a good situation.
No.
I mean,
Yeah, I would really like to see an official letter, at least, or memo coming from the fire department stating their official position on any plans that are put before us. Because I do believe Commissioner Heine is right that that's the biggest issue here. We have to make sure that the fire department is 100% okay with whatever is built. So I think if we could have an official weighing in before the next time they come in front of us, I think that would help.
Well, and I would like to hold both of the requests together, so we wouldn't take any action on either if that's the consensus. But just to kind of get some feedback here, is there general support for the special use? I'm hearing yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
definitely.
I don't think that's an issue. Site plan review, other than the access point to 135th Street, are we hearing other major concerns?
No.
No,
If
it's
John,
good.
if John was here, I'm guessing he'd be saying, "Gee, how safe is that with the playground along 135th? You know, with the fence." I know he's always raised those kind of concerns too. So.
So I mean, I think that's
right.
kind of where we are right now. You have some general support, but we do have reservations about. We would like to see the access point to 135th Street addressed, especially to the satisfaction of the Fire Protection District.
In your, from what you can see thus far, your recommendation is kind of an alignment with their more eastern drive.
I don't know. I don't want to. I don't think I want to provide that specific of guidance. I'd like to see you work this out with the village and the Fire Protection District.
Sure. No, I mean, obviously, we'd get them involved. I just wanted to know if you had a preference.
I mean, well, I think what you're saying though is if it's not a deal breaker. I mean, if there's a way to work it out, I mean, you're committed to, making the site
It's a
work.
rare situation where I have a site big enough to make changes.
Right, exactly.
I mean, usually, 90% of the time, it would be a deal killer.
Right,
You're
right.
right.
I mean, the other, I would say an advantage, it would move the two access points to your site farther apart, which from just a general safety standpoint is a good thing. I mean, obviously being right across the street from the fire station, that you can't get much safer than that.
And I mean, I don't want to make this assumption,
Yeah.
but we would omit the current drive we're showing. Because there's no real point in that one.
Yeah.
Moved it down, and our second access would be through
Right.
the drives in from Napa side.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, our next scheduled meeting is for December 20th. I don't know. Does staff feel this is something they could work on in the next few weeks and come up with a plan? Sure.
Yes, I think so. Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I'm hearing from the commissioners, that they would like to see a little more work done on this and then bring it back to us.
Do you all have a meeting in January if we weren't able to get
We certainly
Baxter
do.
all involved?
We certainly do. It
Okay.
would, and you would set up when you'd be available, because there's a number of things that can go into effect, and if it would be available within 2 weeks or not.
Sure.
But
I understand.
I think because we've got to get a number of people involved.
Yeah,
Just
right.
wondering. So I know there's no village board meeting in January, so I was curious if you were also meeting.
I don't, Marilee, do you know what I think, did we meet that 3rd? So I think we are
And the 20th.
the 20th. Correct.
You're right.
Are you planning a spring construction start, or?
Yes, that
Yeah,
would be
okay.
ideal. Yeah.
So, we have a little time, I guess.
Right.
Well, I guess from what we're hearing here, the chair would entertain a motion to continue this case to a future date to address these concerns that have been raised. I need a motion for that.
Motion to continue it at a future date.
Second that.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to continue the special use and site plan review applications to a future date. Could we get a vote by roll call, please?
Commissioner Segerbrook,
Yes.
Commissioner Menace,
Yes.
Commissioner Walmack,
Yes.
Commissioner Heinen,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Chairman Kiefer.
Yes. So the motion to continue has been approved. So what you need to do is get in touch with staff, try to take action on this, come up with another plan, and bring it back to us. We'd be happy to hear what you come up with.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming before us. That concludes new business. Do we have anything under open discussion that anybody would like to bring up?
I actually just wanted to congratulate the village for being featured in Business Magazine and extend that to Jake and Jonathan, who were both quoted in it numerous times. That was a great write-up, and you guys represented the community well, I thought, and I actually learned something reading it too. So it was fantastic as a base for success. So congratulations.
Very nice.
Can Marilee, can you send that? I didn't see that. Can you send that to us?
There was a link on the weekly update, but it was a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
so
was
Yeah,
it?
it's website. I have a PDF. We can send it out to you guys if you like.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
No problem. Yeah.
Another thing too that is new is on the village website. This was reported in the newspapers as well.
Yeah.
They're going to have planners reports, agendas, and minutes available. I think it's a Google Doc. Is that correct?
It's through our website.
So you go right to the website, click on it. So for anybody in the audience or watching at home, you'll be able to access the minutes that we talk about, our agendas, past actions, and what's before us for the evening, if you'd like to follow along. You can download it or just view it as well. Anything else? So our next scheduled meeting is December 20th for the Plan Commission. The Village Board meeting is scheduled for Monday, December 19th. Again, please check the website to make sure nothing is canceled or changed. Okay, if we do not meet in 2 weeks, I'd like to wish everybody happy holidays and hopefully see everybody back in 2017. But we may be meeting on December 20th. Okay, and at 8:19 we will adjourn the meeting. Good night.
Thank you.